Yeah. No, Luke. I am your father.
Yeah, why hasn't it come on, James? Why hasn't my camera come on? Oh, right. My other camera's not working, that's why.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Not being able to speak is not the same as not speaking. You seem as if you like to talk. I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are.
What the hell did you just say?
You are the new student. Come closer.
You're listening to the Kung Fu Podcast presented by James Still.
Anybody who has some knowledge of Kung Fu can easily defeat you.
And Steve Newby.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
If you flash him, even for an instant, a defiant eye, he'll pluck it out. And if you throw any American sass his way, he'll snap your back and your neck like they were twigs.
So is this the launch now?
I think so. So I
got to do start off. And then I'll take my hat off. But you can leave yours on if you want.
Betty, the cat's done a whoopsie. Right. Welcome everybody to the Kung Fu Podcast, episode 36, with me, what am I? The inconsequential, the nobody, James Still, and joined by my teacher, Mr. Steve Newby, live from Canada. Hi, Steve.
Hey.
Hey. Loving the look today.
Hi.
Loving the look.
Hey.
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, so we got some fancy dress going on tonight. Well, not so much fancy dress. You're cold, but I'm making a point because someone this week, called into question my service to this country. So I'm going to make a point of all things army. So I've just dug out from my bag my tore T-shirt, which I didn't iron, and my beret. And we're gonna talk about this later on because it got under my skin. It did on my. But anyway,
it's inconsequential, isn't it? Really, what I said. So
it is. But we're gonna have some fun with it. You know,
allegedly, they said alleged.
Oh, that's right. Anyway, we're gonna have some fun with it. Right? Do you know what? I can't do it with that on. Actually,
no,
it's probably
can't do it with this on.
Yeah. There you go. Just what little hair I've got left, I'm just peeking it. There you go. See, you got the right idea. Wear a cap. So, what are we talking about? Martial arts. Welcome to the show, everybody.
That would make a change.
Yeah. So it's been a while. We've had some. It's been an interesting couple of weeks since we were last on. We've had some people disagree with us, and I've been called.
That's what we need.
Yes, well, they disagree with us by all means, but I know it's 2020, everybody, but don't resort to calling us bullies and stuff like that, all right? You've been told.
See you!
See you, Jimmy. I know, right. Anyway, so we're going to talk about martial arts. Now, the news from my neck of the woods. Oh, my camera's gone off. Ah.
Give me a chance to eat the rest of me Walker's crisps, James.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Back again.
Nearly had my face full of crisps then, and you ruined it.
Yeah, right. It's never stopped you before.
No,
right.
I know.
Anyway, news in Hereford. Okay, that Hereford's most prominent kung fu practitioner, and I'm not talking about me, and we use the term practitioner very loosely, has just recently been awarded his black sash in Laogar Kung Fu.
I thought he was a master already.
No. Well, we all thought this because he was wearing a black sash anyway in his videos, but now it turns out he's got legitimate apparently.
Not really.
Well, you know, that's debatable. But and this was his post. It says, I've taken 9 black belt gradings in my martial art journey. Failed 2 of them. One with Jeff Thompson's reality self-defense, which I retook and passed. Okay. Fantastic.
How can you fail a self-defense course?
I don't know. You know, maybe, yeah.
Sorry.
He's not of this reality.
Sorry.
So, yeah.
Sorry.
This was, I think, was that the one where they get dressed up in a bubble and they like Mr. Blobby and they have to attack, you know, because it's realistic. You got to look like, you know, Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Yeah. You got to look like Mr. Blobby.
There you go, because that's real. That's the streets, man. That's the streets. Okay, one which I retook and passed. The other was in Laogar Kung Fu. I never retook the Kung Fu one because of lots of reasons. A lot to do with politics and traveling to find an instructor. Wait there, this is the best bit. A lot to do with politics and traveling to find an instructor who would grade me. The problem is none of them would in the
because
BKFA.
it's freaking useless. That's why.
Anyway.
Listen, James.
Yes.
And tell the people.
Tell them.
Tell the listeners. I spent 7 hours with him. 7 hours the day before he's going to take his grading, and I told him not to take it. Do not take your grading. And he said, I'm going to take it anyway. So it wasn't as if someone was giving him the opportunity to take the grading. He just wanted to take it because he thought he was good enough.
Yeah.
He went to the grading and he failed miserably because he's frigging useless. He has no capability and no understanding of the style. But he continues to teach it or try to teach it, which is why I did that criticism of him.
Those critique videos, yeah.
The critique video.
By the way, you know, go on our YouTube, SGM Martial Arts Canada, and find them. They're great. They're hilarious. You can see the standard we're talking about. You know, I think we've linked them on our SGN Martial Arts channel anyway, but
yeah, I got no problem with general individuals getting to us. I mean, we all start from somewhere and we develop, and yeah, some qualities are not as good as others and so on, and people do it differently. But this is not an ordinary student. This is someone who claims to be
a master,
claims to be an instructor, claims to be a master.
Yeah.
And hadn't got a clue and couldn't take the grading. And that's why he never took the grade, because he failed. And there's no one would take him because he was useless. And I was told that he went to Pete Hornby's class.
Was it Staffordshire?
In Staffordshire.
Yeah.
And he told them, you know, he'd traveled 90 miles. And he said he was from the Worcester class, but his class had closed. Well, actually, he's from the Hereford class, and his class hadn't closed. He'd just been kicked out.
Well,
so we went with the guy who also got kicked out in Worcester, which we often, you know, revere. But he went off to do something else.
Yeah.
And then this guy continued going to the association and claiming this and claiming that and lying through his teeth. And they kind of took him on, but then he just left to do his own thing once he thought he knew enough. Well, he never knew enough.
No. Well, it doesn't matter anymore because he's a black sash in Laogar Kung Fu.
Well, that's untrue.
That's it, yeah. A lot to do with politics and travelling to find an instructor willing to grade me, he says. He said, what else? This weekend, I managed to grade in Laogar Kung Fu.
No, you didn't.
And he also, you know, mentions the name of the guy who took him.
Yeah.
The grading apparently was 5 hours yesterday and 8 hours today. So what's that? A total of 13 hours grading. How the heck?
How much of the syllabus do you suppose he did with that?
I'm pretty sure none. I'm honest with you. Probably
he
fitness.
Did a lot of sweating.
It was probably fitness. And do you know why it's fitness? Because when no one has a clue what to teach you properly, they get you sweating and you think, oh, I'm doing something great. Great, you know. That's the way it works, you know. So yeah, anyway, so oh gosh. Anyway,
there's an awful lot. Let me explain. There's an awful lot of associations that have developed from people leaving an association, whatever association, whether it's a good association or a bad association. There are a lot of people who have left and set up their own organizations, and fine, they go off, do their own thing, and they call it whatever they want. But that particular association, he never called it. He trained, he took his black sash, first degree, he failed it, took his second time. Okay, then he took his second degree, then he left, and that's all he knows about Laugar.
Yeah.
Right. And then he called his style something completely different, which I'm not even interested in saying. And then, you know, he does mostly kickboxing, and he was a really nice guy and pretty good at what he did. And over the years, you know, he's been successful in his little organization, or his whatever he wants to call it. And yeah, great. And then if you go to him, he will train you and teach you in anything you want. If you go and say, you know, I want a Hoof Long Dong black belt, he'll go, yeah, I can do that. And he'll just sign it.
It'll cost
and
you.
say, there you go, Hoof Long Dong. Shall I tell you something, James?
Yeah.
I went to a club, and the guy was there, and on the I got crisps all over the top of me. On the wall was a big certificate saying Black Sash Kung Fu, right?
Right.
Now, it was from an organization that actually gave a black sash to an Alsatian dog.
Yeah, you've said this before. And wasn't that the one with the boxes that you tick what style you're doing on?
No, that's my wife's. I'll get that out.
Yeah. Oh, you've mentioned the Alsatian. But,
I'll get that out in the commercial break, and I'll show you the kind of organizations that people,
yeah,
you know.
No, but so in the broad strokes, I mean, the point we're talking about this because a lot of, you know, people claiming to teach Lao when they're not, etc. But the point was, the guy who took the grading, the guy who examined this person we're talking about, he got up to second degree in Laugar and then left.
Yeah. And then left.
Wow. Okay. And
the reason, the thing is, he had this attitude like, if you can call yourself a master, so can I. So
well,
if they can call themselves masters, so can I.
Well,
so that's what he did. He just went off and said, and I got no problem with that. No. You know, do what you want. You know.
Well, he's right. He's really right in a way, isn't he? Isn't he right? You know, if other people call themselves masters.
I agree. I think he's right in a way.
You know?
But the thing is, it's the integrity of martial arts we're talking about.
It's
not the quality. You know, it's about quality of all standards of martial arts, right?
Yeah.
It's not about quantity.
Yeah.
But in his case, it was quantity, and he didn't care, and that's fine. Okay, but don't just, you know, people like this. It's just encouraging people like this to, you know, call themselves whatever they want. And that's the unfortunate thing about martial arts. Okay, for your lifetime, but just think about it in the future.
Well, you know, traditional martial arts are dead.
Yeah. I'm beginning to agree with you.
Shall I play you a little clip from this guy's dojo?
Yeah.
Shall I play you a clip? Right, check this out.
Sanshin. 3 parts. Surround. Don't focus on one. Focus on all around you. Okay?
If you can get people to stand there that still, for that long, while you're standing there.
Well,
oh,
there you go. Not quite sure about that. I mean, that's what's going on in this guy's dojo in Hereford. That wasn't him. That was another group that, you know, he rents out to. But you know,
he has to get people to come and do stuff for him.
Did you know this? Did you know about Sanchin or whatever he called it? With, you know, awareness, which is kind of funny because if he had this Sanchin, he wouldn't have let one guy grab his right arm, the other guy grab his left arm, one put him in a full Nelson, and the other get ready to hit him. But you know,
it wasn't actually a full Nelson, was it?
Oh, sorry, it wasn't a full Nelson. You know, it certainly wasn't a full. But oh God, it worries me. This is the state of martial arts. You know what that was, by the way? That style? No. Bujinkan. And it's a form of ninjutsu. It's what they do. And it's like an amalgamation.
He couldn't be very good. I saw him.
No, but it's one of these. Bujinkan, right? Is like really, it's really controversial for reasons like that. You know, there's some really decent people doing it, and there's a lot of people, you know, who are just away where the buses don't run.
All styles.
Yeah, well, I can say that about all styles, but it's kind of funny, you know, if you know, that's where we're at, martial arts in the 21st century. You know, a lot of it. This is what we're talking about and having to compete with all the time. You know, people who quite frankly are out where the buses don't run. You know,
but when we criticize it, we're bullies.
Yeah, you're a bully. Now, why is this? Why is this? We're not allowed. Anyway, we've got to be nice. We've got to respect everybody, and it's not that we don't respect people. It's we can criticize their methods, I think. And do you know what, guys? And this is the thing about us. You get back to us and you criticize what we do. We'd love that. We'd love that. But the problem with people is, and we'll get onto this later on because something very funny happened to me last week. When people criticize us, they never want to talk to us. Yeah, they never want to. We're always receptive. Yeah, we'll be friendly, but you can always like approach us and say, you know, you're crap. This is why, and we'll say, yeah, well, let's have a conversation about it.
I was talking to someone today actually about the fact that, you know, people, you know, you teach people and then suddenly they, you know, they know it all and that, and it's not an issue when people disagree or when they, you know, choose other methods of learning. And that's not the point. It doesn't matter because you can always sit with them and talk to them about your politics and their politics. And you can still have a drink. You can still enjoy their company. You can still be friendly. It doesn't matter which, you know, sort of side of the fence they're standing on. But if they have different opinions of particular, even within our martial art, and I was talking to someone within our style, and they were just saying how, you know, I said, I agree with you sometimes and I don't agree with you sometimes. You disagree with me and then agree with me. And we, you know, we're good friends. And it's not an issue that we have different opinions of styles.
No, it's not an issue. But the issue I have with it, and this is sort of, you know, quite systemic in the year 2020. If you disagree with someone, or if you know, not always, but if you disagree with them and you tell them, you said, listen, you're wrong. They turn around and say, well, you're bullying now. You know, I disagree with that because you're trying to shut down conversation because you can't handle criticism. And the thing is about me and about you've never blown smoke up anybody's arse. Never. I've never blown smoke up anybody's ass, and I don't expect that either. But what we can talk about is we can argue for techniques, we can argue about these things, but don't try and shut down a conversation because I've said something that you can interpret, you know, the wrong way. Oh, you're bullying. This has happened multiple times to us. Now, some might say, well, it's your fault then. I will say, no, maybe the problem with, you know, a lot of people, you know, in our own style particularly, is that perhaps they never ever watched Kung Fu with David Carradine. Because I was watching the first episode the other day, right? And this is funny. You know, on the first episode of Kung Fu, you've got the little Kwai Tang Kane and he's waiting outside the Shaolin Temple. He's just there. He just wants to go in. And every time that door opens and the master goes, you can go home, you know, it's like, okay, so he wasn't coming in that day. Anyway, the night fell, it started raining. Next day, you can come in. No, you go home. Did Kwai Chang Kane moan and whine about this master not letting him in the temple, calling him a bully? No, he didn't, because it wasn't 2020. Because he knew to shut up and understand that it's a lesson he is learning. And eventually, he got into the temple because of his, you know, patience. And that was a life lesson. When you train martial arts, Kung Fu in particular, you go into the horse riding stance. You do that because life is suffering. It's crap. It's shit. But you do it to learn a lesson about yourself. This is the process by which you learn a martial art. You know, you have to humble yourself. When I joined the army, They didn't, you know, oh, come here, darling. Let me, you know, it was all shouty, treat you like shit for 6 months, and I mean like shit, in order to, and you know, in some you know respects build character, in some respects to build resilience, because life ain't fair. You know,
and it's to weed out the weak.
Oh, and we'll talk about this later on. You know, but you know, I'm getting fed up of all these so-called traditional martial artists, you know, turning around and saying, "Oh, now you're bullying me. Now you're bullying me." What do you expect? You're learning a martial art, and if you can present to me a good case, you know, of argument about a technique, that's all I want. I'm not interested in whether or not you like me or not, but just, you know, either agree, disagree. You know, I believe me, I wish that we lived in a world where everybody could be friends. I really do. But even then, you've got to have a hierarchy, and particularly in our martial art, because you know, how many times
some and they teach others.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
let
me ask you a question: has Master Yao ever been pissed off with people?
Yeah.
Yeah, loads of times. You know, and invariably, what's happened when Master Yao's been pissed off with people? They've buggered off and left. Oh, you crap anyway, and then they badmouth him.
Yeah.
You know, I've been pissed off with you. You know, and I've left, but then I came back because I realised, shit, no, he's right, and you know. It's the way everybody rebels. I get this against, you know, whoever, but my goodness me, stop saying, "Oh, I believe in traditional martial arts," but you're not prepared to espouse any of the virtues of traditional martial artists. You know, you take it on the chin.
That kind of is, you know, people like to look at tradition and talk about humility and everything else.
Yeah.
It's like religion, right?
Yeah.
When my dad was in Italy in the army, in the war, during the war, he was in Italy, and all the Italians there, and this is no detriment to Italians, it's just in the war in Italy, they were Italian. Just to let you know. So these people would go to their church in the morning, and they'd be stealing everything in the afternoon. But don't tell me about, I mean, religion, you know, without too much disrespect to religion, it's shite. Because it only suits people to their own end.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's you know, humanity all over. It suits people. It suits you to be religious as long as, oh, wait a minute, my religion is, you know, real, and the other 260 or what are not. Yeah. Well, I'm an atheist, and so is every religious person. It's just that they've got one extra religion that I haven't got, right? The others, they don't believe in.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going back to that.
You're right, because a lot of people like are religious because it suits them to be on that particular day. Most people, not most people, a lot of people I know can be absolute bastards, go to church on a Sunday, you know, get vindicated again, and then they're bastards for the rest of the week until they go on. So they're only religious when it suits them to be, because they need to belong to something. Similar with martial arts. Everyone has to belong to something. They can be
humble, and they can be peaceful, and then they can send a load of
crap,
aggressive emails at you.
Well, that's it. Or they can claim to be masters and meditate every day, and you know, go for lovely, you know, chi building walks and whatnot, you know. But you know, how traditional are you? See, for me, the effectiveness with Lao is that it is a martial art first and foremost. Now, you know, training for war is, you know, and
it means that you can be peaceful.
Yeah.
If you don't train, you cannot be peaceful, because you're forever, you know, the underdog. Now, if you can teach people to be, you know, effective, then they can spread that word. You know, the meek shall inherit the earth, if that's okay with you people.
Yeah.
You know, that's
no, I just think, you know, you know, if you're training a martial art, understand, you know, Lao Ga is a martial art, you know, everyone says that about their martial art, I'm sure, but understand that, you know, it's a war art. Don't expect everything to be nicey, you know, and all like bloody Hollywood, you know, or, you know, Hong Kong cinema. This is not. You know, get a grip, work hard, take criticism when you need it, you know, but move on. Let it wash off your back. You know,
but people. I mean, obviously we already know there are a lot of people that are not interested in, you know, fighting or self-defense or anything like that. They just like the movements and whatever. And that's fine. Fair enough. But I'm not for that.
No.
So.
No, I'm not for that.
I like
but
the technique to work.
Yeah.
I don't want it to look pretty. I want it to work. And if it doesn't work, then it's no use. Okay, but that doesn't mean to say the technique doesn't work. It means I don't know how to work it.
Right, there you go. All techniques are valid.
That's why I have to keep learning.
Yeah, that's why we all have to keep learning. And
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, funny, weird. You wrote recently a great little, draft, whatever you want to call it, about fake martial arts or counterfeit martial arts. Have you got it? You want to read it for everybody? Read it, because I quite liked it. Okay,
well, I don't want people to get too bored with it, but I wrote, if I had $1 for everyone, for anyone I knew over the course of my career who's declared themselves to be qualified tutors, masters, or innovators, I'd be rich. An authority is given the right to print a dollar bill. This dollar holds a value accepted by all who earn it and use it. It'll change hands many times and it's not always spent well, but it will hold its value when passed on honestly and will be used again and again, sometimes for good, sometimes not so good. The important thing is that it's valued as official currency. So obviously I'm talking about martial arts here. Okay, I won't read the whole thing.
No, please read the whole thing. I think everybody can kind of crack the code on that.
Okay, when an official source reproduces a dollar, it's a counterfeit. It's fake. And when it's passed off as genuine, it may appear to be authentic currency to those who have little knowledge or little care of whether it is in fact a dollar. They'll accept it and pass it on as if it were indeed the real thing. So it'll always be fake, and and the counterfeiter, the faker in effect, and referring to martial arts really, will always know it's a fake. However, only those who know he is a counterfeiter will suspect it's fake. Others will gladly earn it and spend it without the knowledge of its true value. It'll be lost in the many piles of genuine dollars and provided as currency until no one knows the difference between the fake and the genuine, because the only value they hold for it is what it can buy. Okay, so its origins are lost or ignored. It of course remains fake and holds no value to those who see the difference. Those who call it out for what it is, those who would not pass it on to unsuspecting people who work hard to earn their dollars. When an individual discovers he can obtain a fake dollar easier than earning a genuine dollar, so we're talking about the guy that just took his Laugar black sash, if you like, as an example, he will, if he is honest and recognize the destruction each transaction threatens, he'll discard it and learn from his error. Well, of course, this guy didn't. If he's not honest to himself and those who hold him in some respect, he'll pass it on, yet he will always know it's fake, and it will always be fake. Okay. When we recognize a fake dollar and we say nothing, we only serve to encourage unscrupulous individuals to counterfeit more and pass them on as genuine until no one knows a difference, and all our dollars are devalued and we've worked for nothing. So that's basically what I wrote.
Well,
yeah, I know. Someone will, understand that that's actually about martial arts, of course.
Yeah.
So, I hope I kind of give that credit.
Yeah. Very. Yeah.
Reading it.
Yeah. No. Understood. Yeah. Poignant. You have been warned.
Understand that really, obviously, it's just the same in martial arts. People, they're fake. Can I show you this?
Yeah. What was that? Oh, right. Okay. Oh, move it back a bit. Move it back a bit. What's that say?
I'm just going to start.
Nippon
I'm gonna
Dai Budokai International Federation. Wait there. So we've got. Move it back a tad more. Okay, right. Stop it there. So we've got what's that? Judo, karate, kendo, kung fu, jiu-jitsu, and there's a tick in the jiu-jitsu box. We've got. What else have we got there? Oh God, I can't read it.
I can read it for you.
Yeah, go on, read it for us.
Yeah, but let's just have a look at the bottom. Let's just have a look at the bottom, right?
Jacqueline Newby,
my wife took her green belt with this organization many years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nippon Dai Budokai. Yeah.
And all these styles, and I'll read it because obviously you said there's a tick in jiu-jitsu because you did the jiu-jitsu.
She did a jiu-jitsu one that day.
Yeah, it's got Aikido, Karate, Kendo, Kung Fu, Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, Judo, Aikido, Kabudo, Naginata, Kyudo, Iari-do, I ain't got a clue what I'm doing. Kenjutsu, and Kasurigama, So I would imagine that, well, Nippon Dai Budokai, I would imagine it's pretty much a Japanese-based organization. And Nippon Dai Budokai loosely translates as dustbin of martial arts.
Yeah.
So, but this is one of the original dustbin of martial arts, but there's been a lot more since then.
And they're still going on. The dustbin of martial arts is still going on. No. Not Nippon Kai. I'm sure they've disbanded.
Well, they just all they do is they get all these styles together and find someone who can teach them or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And then they tick. Well, none of these. I mean, the kendo, the karate, for instance. What style are they teaching? They just give them a belt, right? They're not teaching any particular style. They just get ticked. Karate, kung fu, right?
Yeah.
Well, they just get ticked. What style is it? It doesn't matter. They just get that certificate that goes on the wall, and the one that they give to the Alsatian dog. And that's how it is. And when my wife showed me this, I mean, I educated her. Okay.
I'm surprised I'm surprised you didn't break it off then and there.
Well, I didn't know she did martial arts. It was a blind date.
Oh, okay.
And I just wanted to go, away from martial arts. I was so fed up of just being totally involved in martial arts all the time. I had no one outside of martial arts for years and years. And then, so my friend said, oh, I know a couple of people, and got a blind date. And
see, that's the good thing about Sarah, my wife. She doesn't partake.
No.
It's funny, we have very little in common other than we're married. But no, it's great. It's happy time. Yeah, interesting. Right. So moving on. So the moral of that story was what? What were we talking about? What's in the small print that we were just talking about there?
The small print is when you can't get a black sash in the recognized style, you can't just go and find it in some bullshit organization and then call it genuine. It's not genuine, and you are you're completely conning every single individual that follows you. Okay,
that puts trust in you to do it.
Yeah,
yeah, incredible.
That's it. Now, if I wouldn't mind if the person had some credibility, because obviously styles, people die, people move on, and so on. So, if the person's got credibility, understandable. I understand. If he's got credibility within that style and he's recognized by people and so on. But if he's got no knowledge or no credibility in that style, then as far as I'm concerned, no. Okay. And it takes people to recognize that as well. And they say, well, you know what? You're that, you've got that qualification. So fine.
But yeah. And so that is the moral of the story, but it's interesting how we're crucified for calling this out on multiple occasions. Whether or not it's being censored by your own groups, or having people accuse you of things, or indeed You know, as we've done in previous podcasts.
Well, people
we've had-
like to tread a nice path.
Well,
They
but
don't
that
like-
kills martial art. And it's not that we're not trying to be nice, but all we've ever done is call the people out who we know are dishonest about teaching martial art. And, you know, but, you know, calling them out, you know, that's it. What, are we the bad guys now? Yeah? Oh,
Well,
we're real bad. If that's
I
the
did have to
price.
say,
Yeah.
I said something once. Okay. Someone sent me a message, right? Said, I'm not going to mention any names, but this guy, it looks like this guy is doing his black belt grading. Finally, the guy we were talking about taking that grading.
Yeah.
And then he's talking about, he just says to me, when you show your enemy their flaws, you help them. Instead of carrying on a lifetime, making them look like you're jokers. And the thing is, we've talked about this before. Okay, this guy, and I answered him just saying, this guy we're talking about, he needs recognition from anyone who will recognize him for a price, the same as the others that we talked about.
Mm.
The theory, however, is short of the facts and is born from the very fabric that divides good people. History is full of dictators who rose to power because good people did nothing. We as an association are fractured by the principles that allow others to thrive while we sit idle and disorganized. If our podcast has spurred our enemies, if you want to call them enemies, to improve, where is the action that will drive an association into reunification? Where are the promos, the archive footage, etc.? In other words, try to promote what we do better instead of complaining about other people, you know, building themselves up. It's no good sitting idle and then watching other people get bigger and we do nothing and then complain about it. Yeah, we do not gain from holding on to knowledge. We gain from spreading it. This is how these people thrive while we do not. The strength is in the belief he has or they have, the fight they have to endure to build their name. And we don't help that cause, right? If we can't unify ourselves, build ourselves, then it's not them that become strong. It is us, by definition, to show how weak we can be.
Yeah.
And that is my answer to someone's query saying to us about our podcast, saying, you know, we're telling people secrets. Well, you know, I mean, I love this guy. He's a really nice guy. And, you know, he sent me this message about when he saw it on YouTube or whatever, that this guy had took his grading with that association. And I totally understand that where he's coming from, but it is when good people do nothing, that's history. When good people do nothing, that's what you get.
Yeah, well, you know. Yep, absolutely. The problem is not many people believe you, old man, because they don't realize what history you've had, do they? They just see you as the complainers, the raconteur on the podcast.
Well, you know, they're talking about,
and when they're on the forum, I say, you do know Steve is one of the 12 original. No, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was a Guardian. You know, people trying to give you shade. It's funny.
Well, I mean, we have these people talking about, you know, various people from different organizations and whatever saying, you know, I trained with the 39th generation master or whatever of Shaolin, don't we? And we have them pulling the wool over everybody's eyes saying how, you know, this was so, you know, it's so important for their style and so on, and it goes back generations. No, Kung Fu style has an unbroken lineage, right? None, because there was a communism and there was a complete destruction of a country for 100 years.
Yeah.
And prior to that, 300 years before, you know, before now, 300 years ago, the Shaolin Temple was completely gutted, and it hadn't been lived in since.
Well, Yeah, you've seen this though. You've firsthand. You've seen the
people
effects
don't
of it.
realise this, I guess. I mean, they don't have to realise, obviously, but in my lifetime, when I was 16 years old, I was in the Merchant Navy, and I went to China. I went to China when Mao Zedong was still in control, when it was total communism. There was only 3 colours, and everybody wore, believe it or not, everybody were wearing Mandarin uniforms, traditional Mandarin uniforms, walking around in, just like in the old Kung Fu movies.
Yeah.
And this is real life. And we couldn't go anywhere. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. We had to have a pass and we had to have a guard. Got up the ship. The only place we could go, we could get on a bus and we could go to the Seamen's Mission. Okay.
Right.
And
was that in the port? Was that in the port? Was it?
Well, it's in Shanghai.
Oh, right. Okay. So you actually left the port. You went into the.
We left the port.
Shanghai.
Yeah. There was a Chinese guard at the side of the boat. And then we got a little boat to the port. And when we got to the port, we walked out, and I was wearing a flowery shirt with dragons on it.
Yeah.
I nicked it off my brother. Sorry, Roger. And and I had this flowery shirt, and these people, must have been about 30, 40 of them, and they just followed us, just watching us, looking at us. They'd never seen Westerner. And that's how it seemed. They were just looking at our clothing. They were looking at the way who we were. You know, they hadn't got a clue. And they all had Mandarin uniforms on, green, black, or blue. Wow. Mandarin uniforms.
Wow.
And we got on a bus, and, you know, we thought we went to get off the bus. And they all started going, oh, like this, because apparently we had to pay on the bus. Well, we didn't know that. Oh. So we got back on the bus, and we had to pass the money to the next passenger, who then passed it to the next passenger, who passed it to the next, until it got to the till. And when it got to the till, then they rung it and sent back a ticket. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
And so, but we went to a mission, a Seamen's Mission.
Yeah.
And the Seamen's Mission, they had all the Chinese people learning English, and not one of them knew what wushu was. Not one of them knew what kung fu was. Right. This is in the height of communism. When it was a real communist country. Before any of this change, I was 16 years old, so it was 1974. Okay, and that's when I went to China in 1974. And yeah, it's changed now, but the Shaolin Temple was still a wreck then, and it's still a wreck now, except that they've, you know, cleaned it up a bit. So don't come and say these people, oh, these are hidden masters. You know, for those people who have to keep on seeking masters, these people that have left the association, then they try to seek another master. And then this master apparently, you know, why do they have to seek a master after all? They've been up mountains and learned from, you know, monks. Why do they need to seek another master? Because they're full of shit.
Yeah.
Because they have no knowledge. And they just keep on building and building on bullshit until, you know, they don't know the difference. And it's sad, really, because they were enthusiasts.
Yeah.
But they just desperately need recognition. Why don't they just call themselves whatever they want to call themselves? Just get on with it.
Right.
Instead of sprouting out loads of Chinese names or, you know, incredible, you know, people that they see.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it. I think is possibly sort of life trying to imitate art, because they watch all these. They've got an idea of what it is through movies, through, you know, the ideal of martial arts. I know as presented by, you know, Chinese culture or whatever, you know. And I think they just want to recreate it. They want to give themselves some meaning.
They want to be it.
I think they want to appear to be it. They don't want to.
Well, they want to be it, and they need to appear to be it.
Well, I think it's easier to want to appear to be a martial artist than actually being a martial artist. And I think, you know, when we talk about sort of humility and lessons like this, you know, born out of, you know, years and years of philosophy and warfare, you know, and understand, you know, what is it a martial art is actually for? You know, it's, for me, it's the preservation of life. Now, if you want to, you know, say, oh, you're being too mean about it when you teach it or whatever. I'm not mean when I teach. I'm not. I don't go for that. But if you think that, I mean, we're talking about warfare. We're talking about the preservation of your life, or what's more important? You getting hurt feelings, but actually learning something, or me being all nicey, or because it's 2020 after all. I'm just like that. That for me is lost, and I think
Yeah, well, we have to respect everybody's opinion in terms of what they want to do martial arts for, but to call us out for being aggressive or bullying or something like that is misconstrued. Really, it's misunderstood. They're not. If they want to do it the way they do it, then that's absolutely fine by me. But I'm only interested in techniques. I'm not interested in why they do the technique, as long as it's got a purpose. Now, they can throw their hands around all they like and look pretty, but to me, that's not martial arts. So martial movement, most definitely. Wushu, martial movement, great, and so athletic and so beautiful.
Yeah.
But it ain't martial movement. It ain't martial art.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with that, 100%. The one thing I want to add as well is that perhaps, if you don't have the mindset of training, and I'm talking about Lao Gar because that's what I know. Within Lao Gar, if you're not training it with the intention of it being a martial art, with the understanding that it is a fighting art, then in my mind, I think you're maybe taken away from it. And I'm not like bothered about what you do. What I'm bothered about is if you have students and what they do. And at that point, you're saturating an art form until a couple of generations down the line, everyone's doing wushu.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand it. And we're talking about tactics and strategy and whatnot. I don't understand it, but I'm wise enough to admit that,
Yeah, we have to learn.
Yeah.
But we can only learn if it's it's preserved.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not against people who want to, throw their arms around and just look pretty. I'm not against that. I'm not promoting it. I just want to promote genuine martial arts. So that's why I've got something to say about people who think they can do this stuff and make it up themselves, and plainly they can't, right? And they come out with all the crap that we've just seen on the video. Okay. And then the other thing, of course, is they're not going to pass on. It's just going to die off as a genuine martial art. If everybody goes the easy route.
Right. Easy route.
And I just want to see, martial arts maintained. But to do that, I guess you've got to have people who genuinely want to train it. So, I mean, I remember the squad training. We talked about this. I was talking to someone the other day about squad training in Birmingham National Squad. I don't know if people know about the originally before the CD or DVD rather.
The DVD.
There was a video.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but what you're talking about the syllabus DVDs, which were, reissued recently, within the last 15 years or so.
Yeah.
Basically helping students with their syllabus work.
Yeah. Well, originally it was a video before DVDs came out.
In the 80s, there was volume one of a video.
Yeah, and it was my student Kevin who actually did that video with his Full House Productions, which was a video company they had.
Yeah. And
it was just me.
Yeah.
And it was Kevin doing the video, and it was Masty Out and John Russell doing the footage.
Yeah.
But adding to that video, if anyone's got that old video, we've got the squad training, the team.
Yeah.
Now, when we went down there and we see these people, I mean, we went down a few times, videoed the squad training. It was amazing. But the one time we went down there, the lift shaft was flooded. So the water, because it was in a cellar, the water was about 4 inches deep on the one end of the gym, and so it was deep water, and people were in there. There were about 40 people in there, and the people at the back in 4 inches of water were doing sit-ups and press-ups, whatever, and they were training. Now you could hear the splashes, and they were just up, splashing, punching, and they'd already been for a run. So I guess they loved that water. But I'll tell you what, they were training in dire crap conditions, and they were training, and that's what made the name of the style, is those people that put in so much effort and demonstrated how genuine, how good the style works. And you tell me another organization, another martial art that's done that? Not like that. No way. And the only people that survive are the people who have actually come from that group and have gone off and broken away and done their own thing to a degree. And that's what's completely bastardized the whole, martial arts organization. The whole concept of martial arts been bastardized by people who have gone off. Whether they're greedy to go off and do it in greed, or whether they had good reason to go off and argument and, opposing opinions, it doesn't matter. The fact is, that's what's happened to martial arts today. So I'm sorry, but I'd like to try to maintain.
No, you're absolutely right. That level of determination on their faces when they're doing a squat, amazing. That's dedicated. They're the hit. For me, it's like they're the pioneers of allowing this country people like that with that attitude.
And it was good on the summer course too. There were some great times on the summer course. Not everyone was that, into.
But this is the point we always talk about. I mean, do you know what the topic of conversation was today on the Laogar blogspot?
No.
It was, what's your favorite kung fu movie? Now, we've gone from Laogar being hardcore trained in this country to what's your favorite kung fu movie, everybody? I want to hear it. Jesus Christ, have some pride in the style, man. Talk about it.
Well, you've got to let people do their thing, like I say.
You can only warn people. We can only say, But
it's not for us to. It's not for us to decide on what other people choose.
Oh, listen. I'm making a point about this is the mentality where people are at. In our style, we should be talking, you want to, talk about the style, fine. You want to talk about movies, piss off and do it down the pub, as far as I'm concerned. You're here to bloody train.
Well, we have no control over other.
You see, we don't. Well, no, I don't. We don't. If I post something,
all we can do is promote what we promote. We can promote it on our podcast.
Because we're passionate.
We've only got to show that we're passionate, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about any other. I mean, if they want to do it, maybe it'll lead to something. Maybe it'll develop to something. Maybe, hopefully it'll bring people together and start. They'll all have great movies, whatever. Maybe. But hopefully, it might keep people interested in Lao. That's all I can say. But I can't. But for me, I just want to keep on promoting it the way I promote it, and that's it. We did have a thing.
Wait a second. There's a Marty McFly moment coming. I can feel it. Now, we're going to talk about Gibson's message, because you had we had a lovely message from one of your ex-students called Gibson in Scotland, didn't we? And it was very nice. It was a video message, and he got in contact with us on YouTube because we were discussing that technique from the second set, which we've done that now. We're not going to discuss it. Go back and listen to the other ones. But he basically contacted us. He said, well done, guys, for flying the flag for Laogar. Really had a great time. I don't know Gibson, but he certainly trained with you, Steve, back in Scotland back in the day, and very, very personable, very lovely message. And he was talking about his interpretation of this technique. But I think the underlying thing was about his message is about, and what I want to talk about is the evolution of techniques within the martial art, within Laogar, because that's what we're talking about. But he was a very pleasant guy. I like Gibson. I like the cut of Gibson's jib. It was good. It's really nice, wasn't it? It's nice to, when you get nice messages from people. It is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah. What do you think about the evolution of techniques?
Well, we all develop and we all learn, and of course I wasn't teaching in the way that I teach now, and I didn't have the knowledge that I have now,
Well,
and that I will have in the future.
Yeah. So his thing was, Steve, years ago you weren't teaching this like this.
Exactly.
And stuff like that, which completely valid points. Completely
yes, absolutely. Valid. Yeah, but of course, I didn't stand still. So this is the issue. You see, when you're training and training and training, you're going to evolve. And I've seen people do things awful, and then later on, I've seen them brilliant, really good. I mean, let's face it: a good fighter isn't a good fighter at the beginning. He may have the makings of it, but he's not going to win until he learns. So, and until he loses, in effect.
Yeah.
And when he accepts defeat, then he can work on that defeat to make success, to build, to be successful, and to win. Yeah. And it's the same with anything. You develop a technique that, you think, oh, I always remember learning the spinning kick. I hated spinning kicks. Oh, crap, useless. And when would you ever do that? And then the next thing you know, I'm kicking people's cigarettes out of their mouths, and it's, just as a fun thing, but it was a real good technique. And I've seen spinning kicks break people's jaws. I've seen people, in the nationals, it's not allowed, but, you could hear the jaw break from the other side of the room.
Jesus.
So these techniques, they work.
Yeah.
But initially when you learn them, well, no way I'd do that. And then you go through phases, when you love a particular set of moves, or you love a particular way of doing things, and then you start realizing that these things you didn't know before are actually useful. But that's the same with all forms. But what you've got to do, of course, is practice them until you start to interpret them properly. People will, claim that they know this and know that, but it's great if you feel that you know it, but now show us how you think it works. And that's all we like to do, is to demonstrate how it could work.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to have, it has to be within the basis of logic, within the confines of logic as well.
Yeah. And reality as well,
Yeah.
There are certain things that won't work in certain situations. Well, you've got to be able to apply it.
Yeah. But I just think it's just, because I've gone through a process myself, being your student, I've done things one way, and, years later it would be slight changes here and there.
Yeah. And
there's always been that, well, why are we doing this? And you've always kindly explained. But, I think a lot of people may think, I mean, I know I'm putting words in their mouths, but what's to stop it from being Steve Newby Kundo? If you're, are you changing things? I mean, has Master Yao signed off on these?
Yeah. He's the one that turns to me and says, use your head.
Right.
When I ask him whether he's done one thing or another, which we've talked about.
You've talked about that.
But you also got to recognize that there are certain people that they stay the same all the time. They learn the style and they do the sets exactly the same. Again, we talked about this, and they don't define them, and they don't evolve. And of course, a set's never going to look the same if you're doing it for a purpose. And of course, we've got to recognize there are lots of purposes, but each one of those purposes have got to have an outcome. They've got to have a usefulness. And if you perceive them to do one thing, but then you look and you go, wait a minute, you're going to break your hand that way, or you're going to hurt yourself that way, or you're going to be left open if you do it that way, then of course there's got to be timing involved, and there's got to be, feinting sometimes involved in order to achieve a certain strategy, if you want. So, people will think differently. We all think differently. But the good thing is we should be able to talk about it, and we should be able to say, let's, I do it this way because I could do this first and then achieve that, and so on. So people will always have different ideas. People will always fight differently, train differently.
Yeah.
But it's about the outcome. It's about what happens.
Yeah.
But as soon as people say, no, I do it this way and that's how it should be done. Well, show me why it should be done that way. Oh, that looks good. Or, well, no, I don't think that would work. And that, you know, if they don't agree with you and they continue to do what they do, well, that's fine. Let them do that. That's what martial arts is about. But what annoys me is when people are not prepared to learn, and that's where you got them going looking for different masters. This guy that you just talked about, 9
black belts,
different black belts in his life, and he can't use any of them. He hasn't got a clue how to use any of them. And he's just looking for additional trophies that he can then show off. But if you look at videos of his technical capability or his physical ability, it's not worth, you know, a green sash, green belt, or whatever you want to call it, because he's friggin' useless. But he's not the worst. There are people that are even worse than him, with calling themselves masters, and 25-year-olds calling them great grandmasters, calling themselves, you know, great grandmasters or whatever. Well, and you just think, shut up.
Well, it seems to me that videos can get people in an awful lot of trouble these days. You know? I mean,
I'm waiting for people to say, "Oh, we've had some thumbs down of our videos." And
do you know?
It's absolutely fine.
No, but I love thumbs down. In fact, I've told you before, I thumbs down my own videos sometimes just to join in, because there's some
friends.
Listen, there's people out there. I swear to God, they wait for us to post something. Thumbs down, thumbs down. I was like, all right, fine.
Well, we know what that is.
Well, we know. It's funny. The thing is, you can't get an argument out of them, a logical argument out of them. So, you know, isn't social media in the world of the interweb fantastic because it's anonymity? You know. Oh, well, I don't mind that.
It's anonymity. How do you say that again? Anonymity. 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 I don't know what's in this.
I don't know either. But
anyway, so you had this guy say to you about the fact that you allegedly, are supposed to have been in the army and all this.
Wait a second.
I need to tell us that story.
I need to put my hat on for this.
Okay.
Right. This is called a Brecon hand in the army. You don't point, you indicate. You know, longest way up, shortest way down. Right. Okay. So anyway, no, I won't wear that. But I did get all my props out for you. I got I think this is a Mark 7 Alpha combat helmet that I stole from the stores before I left. It was my helmet from Afghanistan, and it's still got the sand of Afghanistan on it. And you can tell I'm a real an ex-squad because I steal stuff. You know, that's what they all do. Anyway, so a while back, right, we did a video. I did a video on the first lockdown here. We're in lockdown 2.0 at the moment. You know, so that's interesting. Anyway, in the first lockdown, I did this video. What was it called? It was entitled something like An Easy Method of Escape, right? And because we were talking, weren't we? And you told me you saw some videos about people who were being grabbed round the throat.
Yeah.
And the defense was something like, you know, like you see it in the Avengers when they go, whoo, whoa, like that, to break it and stuff like that. And so it was kind of like a debunking video because I got my student Craig, who's a bit of a lump. I said, listen, you know, I want you to strangle me, and I want you to grip the life out of me, and let's just see if I can do it. And bear in mind, I'm not as strong as Craig. Maybe if I was a stronger person, I might have come up with it. Anyway, so I said, okay, yeah, no, that doesn't work. You know, he's still gripping me, and you know, and anyway, but I did mention, you know, in passing, that technique, if you intercept it early enough before the strangle has been put on you, you know, you're preventing the action.
Rock pie Jern, James.
Oh, is that where it's from, old man? I didn't know. But, okay. Anyway, so
Some wouldn't know, James.
That's right, some wouldn't know. Right, but the title of the video was An Easy Method of Escape. And it was basically, instead of, you know, because we always hark on about the old thing about, you know, if someone grabs you, just hit them. You know, that's fine. All right, that's fine. Whatever, hit them, strike them, punch them, whatever. Great.
That's what you do.
Right, and I'm a total advocate for that, you know. But I think a lot of that, you know, and the video was I mentioned in the video that you don't have to be a martial artist to do that. Now, the implication is if you're a trained martial artist to some degree, you would know how to strike someone, or you would have a bit of force behind your strikes or whatever. You know, there'll be a bit of technique there. If you weren't, okay, do this, for example. And all I did was I kind of threw my arm over, you know, to break this strangle. And, you know, so it's what would we say? An anatomical release, because no matter how strong someone is grabbing you around the throat, if you're using your body to move them, you can change their anatomy. And
your body is stronger than their arms.
Right, exactly.
More muscles in your body than in your trunk than there is in an arm.
Right. So instead of staying face on while they strangle you and hit them, which is great, if you can do it, fantastic. Poke them in the eye, you know. You know, here's an example of an easy method of escape that you don't perhaps need to be a martial artist to do. Just throw your arm over, go. Anyway, so that was the crux of that video, and it was like, you know, that was it. I wasn't saying it's the best in the world. I was just saying, think about it, maybe. And
but it does work.
Yeah, but you can take that technique out of the fifth set, the Fei Lung Chi or whatever, you know, if you wanted to. The similarities there. Anyway, so I got alerted the other day to a post on a Kung Fu forum called Real Kung Fu Applications, right? And a gentleman on this forum by the name of Snape. Now, does that sound like a bad guy's name or what?
It does.
If your second name is Snape, that's from Harry Potter. You know, if your second name is Snape, you've got it. You're the baddie, right? Anyway, Snape. Anyway, he and I tried to join this group so I could reply to him, but I'll read out what he put because I thought it was quite funny. And anyway, so this is what he said about me. He says, and he posted the video, and it's one of these forums where, you know, everyone's, you know, real, do real martial arts, me.
Yeah.
All right, great, fantastic.
He
Says,
they're just brawlers. They don't do martial arts at all. They're big enough to hit back, and that's it. Well, that's no good to some young girl or some young kid, you know, who can't fight back like that. Yeah. Who's, you know.
Well, anyway, so this was the message he wrote about my video and me. He says, this instructor has a Kung Fu podcast, but doesn't talk about anything remotely practical, interesting, or useful. Okay, all right, first one. Okay, we'll come back and we'll comment about this. He knows less than a blind pacifist with no arms or legs. Blind pacifist joins the infantry. I'm just saying. Right, okay, never mind.
Oh, no.
Okay. Shall I go and get my medal? I'm going to get my medal. Hang on a second. Oh, wait there. I'll go and get my medal after this. Right. Avoid at all costs. Talking about our podcast. He was allegedly in the UK Armed Forces. I can argue are the best trained in any of the world. And then he goes on to say this about me. He says, would you want this guy at your side? That. Okay, we'll talk about that too, because there's, you know, I've got a few people who wouldn't mind me by this, right? Okay. And he says, he must have been a popular guy. Anyone tries to grab you round the throat, you punch them hard. In the face, you kick them in the bollocks, he says. Throat strikes, or the very common, one above and one below the elbow, and turn it like a steering wheel. Okay?
Where he got that from?
I don't know. Okay? Right. Also stepping in on them and turning to the side. You choose which side, he says. But if there's a wall or something else hard to slam them into, do so. Now, anyway, my man, Snapey baby here, he's got some interesting points that we want to address. Because, well, first off, this instructor, he says, okay, so I do instruct martial arts. I've done it for about 15 years now, under you. And I started instructing when I was a blue sash, so that's 2 grades in. But everybody listening, you're thinking, oh, what do you know 2 grades in? I knew very little, but I knew enough to teach my peer group because I was very attentive to to certain things and receptive to training.
Yeah, the whole point of just to ensure that people understand that my concept of teaching is, or rather training, is the more you encourage people to
uncross your arms.
The more encouragement they will to learn.
Uncross your arms because you got a mic there.
Oh, sorry. I just put the mic straight into there.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So shall I repeat that?
Yeah, just repeat that, but hold on to that thought. I'll edit this out. I've got to go and get my medal. Hang on a sec.
Okay. Okay, so what was I talking about?
I've just said. See, basically about me being a blue sash instructing.
Oh, yeah, that's it. It's bloody me. It's my memory.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so yeah, as a blue sash, just to make people understand, because people in Laos, they go, how the hell can you teach a blue sash? You can't. You can assist. Okay, and the whole point is encouraging people like yourself to assist. It's what made you as you are now, with knowledge and enthusiasm. Yeah. But the point is, you see, is that when you find someone who's keen to teach, and you get them to help their peers, they are far more attentive, they're far more knowledgeable. You only have to look at a black sash today and you will know who teaches and who doesn't. Because the black sash who doesn't teach has absolutely nowhere near the knowledge as the person who does. Okay, and obviously that goes right the way through the grades. So if you're getting people to help someone else rather than just get them to train together, you are building the instructor from the off, and that's what made you capable.
Yeah, I'm certainly not the greatest instructor ever, but I've taken.
Nor am I. No one claims that.
No.
But the point is, it's about building knowledge. It's about the journey, about developing. And I mean, you can see how some people's knowledge. That's just they try to teach, but they haven't got a clue how to teach because they haven't got a clue what they're teaching.
Yeah,
that's the first thing.
Yeah, no, you don't realize, and I've said this before, you don't realize how important teaching is in relation to your understanding of what you do. Yeah. And I think with what we do with the Lao, it's invaluable. As soon as you start teaching, you're learning yourself. But you remember, it's that Western mentality. Oh, I just want to learn, man. It's like, hang on a sec. Whoa, slow down there, chef. By teaching, you're actually learning, but you don't realize it. You just don't realize it, and I think there's a lot of people out there who, I just want to do it for myself. It's a luxury, unfortunately, you don't have in a traditional martial art, right? And traditional martial art doesn't just mean the way you train, it's your attitude towards training. In a traditional martial art, if the instructor says you teach, you teach. But you've got to be humble and willing and receptive enough to understand that by teaching, you're actually learning.
And the teacher's doing it for the right reasons.
For the right reasons.
So that you can learn.
Yeah. So, if you're not teaching
doing it
guys,
so he can get an open class, another class. It's not, I didn't stick you, controlling a class when you were a blue sash.
No.
Just simply in the class helping.
Yeah, helping groups.
And a lot of people were doing that. We used to do it all the time.
I do it now. I do it with the guys I teach.
In Scotland, I would split the groups into different grades, up to yellow sash, up to the 5th grade. And then anyone who was available, I would say, I'd like you to teach that group tonight, you to teach that group tonight, you to teach that group. Who was left, sometimes higher grades, purple sash, brown, black sashes.
Yeah.
They would participate in any of those groups and learn under a lower grade. They would listen to the lower grade, gain information and help out as well. But they would actually, if I felt someone didn't know enough about their syllabus, I would put them in a lower grade so that they could learn that part of the syllabus. Yeah. Not because, I was disrespecting them or I just wanted them to learn more. And they developed more from there. And then they were able to then teach other groups with the initial basics in mind. Often if you miss the basics, then you miss the whole point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's important. Yeah, well, let's get back onto Snapey Baby's comments. Snapey Baby, man.
Hi, Snape.
Hey, Snapes. This one's for you. Okay, he says, this instructor has a Kung Fu podcast but doesn't talk about anything remotely practical, interesting, or useful. Okay. Do you think he's listened to any of our shows? And I mean, you know, you can have an opinion. I don't mind. But
we have bitched a lot. We've bitched a lot.
Oh, 100%. But
because we don't mention that many names, although he can have his name mentioned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he can.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but we don't tend to mention people's names that much because first, we don't want to give them credibility, and second, nobody knows who the friggin' hell they are anyway. And why should? It's just a personal, thing that I do with people who I taught, and it's our podcast, so that's why we do it.
Well,
but I mean, we do promote Lao, and we do
100%.
Totally respect Lao, and we want Lao to survive, which is why we do this, because these people destroy martial arts.
Yeah, but it's kind of ironic that this guy, unbeknownst to him, is probably doing Lao Ga, but he doesn't realise.
No,
but it may be if Snapey Baby listened to us, he might. One up, one down, Snapes. Steering wheel. What's that?
Ceylon Chi.
Oh. Okay. So we'll see. Anyway, he goes on. He knows less than a blind pacifist with no arms or legs. That's oh god, that's giving me too much credit there. Too much credit there. Okay, so a blind pacifist, right? Now, interesting. I'll link this on to the next point he made. Avoid at all cost. He was allegedly in the UK Armed Forces. I can argue one of the best trained in the world. Would you want him at your side? Okay, so without harking on too much, okay, this here is a medal. Okay, that's an Afghanistan campaign medal. And I didn't just buy it off eBay. I'm sure people are saying, if I wanted to show you my service number, it's actually imprinted on the side. It says Rifleman still there. And you get that medal for serving a minimum 1 month in the theatre, in the area of operations in Afghanistan. I did the full 6 months. I was in my tour with 2nd Battalion, the Rifles, by the way. That's what that cap badge is there. They were an infantry regiment, because I figured, and this is, if I'm going to join the army, I figured I'm just going to go all in, and go for the infantry, go for the lowest of the low, the grunts, the pawns on the chessboard. Because I'll be honest with you, I just, I had this sort of, desire to experience combat, I guess. But be careful what you wish for, because you may get it. But nevertheless, okay, you don't go through 6 months of training at Catterick, Infantry Training Centre, Catterick. And this is a picture of me. I'm there at the front and centre there. That's my platoon in Catterick. That's me with the bald head. And this is the actual, this is all of us at the end of Catterick here. And there's 25 people there who passed out at the end of 6 months at Catterick with infantry training. Now, that was back in 2010. A lot's changed in the army since then. But I'll give you some sort of idea as to the bullshit that I kind of went through. The initial intake for our group was 56 people. And what was left was 25 at the end of the 6 month course. So we had over a 50% dropout rate. And it was interesting because our platoon back then was actually investigated by the, did I tell you this, Steve? Was it investigated by the Royal Military Police for abuse allegations against us, because we had the corporals who were delivering our training. It was good. It was good training when it needed to be. But I learned a lot about keeping my mouth shut and stuff like that. But the corporals who took us to our training, they were investigated by the Royal Military Police. They do stuff like, and a few highlights, which I, kind of thought of. They would, on obstacle courses, they would, piss on us. Literally, I'm like, okay, all right, fine. You want to piss on us? And I mean literal piss, Another great one they loved to do was they used to make you drink pints and pints of milk, right? Of milk, put on a gas mask, put on the old S10 respirator, and this was in training. Put on one of those and exercise until you threw up in your gas mask. And once you were thrown up in your gas mask, you couldn't take it off. You had to continue to exercise with your sick on you. So that was great. And another good one that I'll never forget is they used to lock us in a room. There was about 40 of us at this point. And they lock us in a room. And they say, everyone in here is going to fight until we say stop. And you're not allowed to leave this room. So as a training group, we were locked in rooms and forced to fight each other. So no wonder, right? And that was just a taster of the bullshit I went through. That's why we had such a big dropout rate. I'm not claiming to be the parachute regiment, because I'm sure they have it worse, or the Marines. But as an infanteer, that was my introduction to the army, So that was the level of bullshit that I was used to. But the thing is, I was 24 at the time. And because I, had a lot of, chats with you, and, you kind of grounded me a lot. And my father was very similar as well. I kind of knew what to expect. So I played the game, I played the game. But, anyway, 6 months of bullshit in Catterick. Then I get transferred to 2nd Battalion Rifles, based out of Northern Ireland. And anyway, to cut a long story short, ended up doing Afghanistan. And the Afghanistan campaign was called Operation Herrick. And I was on Herrick 15, which was November 2011 through to January, February, March, April, to April 2012. So it was 6 months in Helmand province, in a place called Nadi El Sarraj, or we called it Nez South. Okay, so it's southern Helmand province. Now, if you know anything about the Afghanistan conflict, you'll know that Helmand province was what we deemed probably the most kinetic place. And by kinetic, I mean there was a lot of gunfights and a lot of contacts and a lot of IEDs, a lot of casualties, in that area. And my role over there was I had quite a diverse tour. So I kind of split it into three. I did basically sort of 2 months patrolling, 2 months armored driving, and again another 2 months with my platoon, in a forward position in what we call a checkpoint. And so we did a winter tour, and traditionally winter tours aren't as kinetic as summer tours. But suffice to say, my first patrol, we had a contact, and and I thought, oh bloody hell, this is what this is. But when you say that, would you want him at your side, mate? I tell you what, I can name quite a few people who would, particularly. Who we got here? I'm sure he's a sergeant now, Sergeant Leon Reynolds, who I provided suppressing fire to while he was reloading his LMG machine gun under fire. We both were, and I managed in 45 seconds to dump 3 magazines of 5.56 in the general direction of the enemy while he reloaded. So he would want me by his side fighting, but with all this stuff, I mean, I'd love to know what you were doing while I was patrolling the plains of Afghanistan, serving my country and, getting shot at, not every day, but there was quite a few instances. I wonder what you were doing. Oh, wait, I know what you were doing, because according to Ziggy, Facebook, guess what you were doing while I was in Afghanistan? You were working as a sales assistant in Pound Bakery, shoving jam up the arse of donuts and reheating pasties. Okay? Buddy, chill out. Okay? People got to eat pasties and they got to eat their yum-yums and they love their custard tarts. But brother, when you turn around and say to me, would you want him at your side for that? You're outclassed and outmatched in this instance, my friend. Outclassed and outmatched. And the problem with this guy is, he belongs to the 5 blunder lot.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to take exception with what we say about them. But
Yes.
I think the underlying thing here with me is if you call in my service into question, you're actually calling veteran services into question. And it's not just me. Like, I'm not offended by it. I think you're sad. But, don't call into question, because you're not just calling into question mine, you're calling all veterans, all right? And veterans, I know quite a lot. And here's a picture of me on the last day of Afghanistan tour. And the guy to my right, his name is James Ross. And he was a very good friend of mine. And when we got back from Afghanistan, he hung himself. He killed himself because he just couldn't cope. And, and when you talk about that, when you question the service of veterans, you're actually, slurring people like him. And, he's done more for this country than you will ever do in your life, okay? Put simply. So I have a lot of respect for veterans. I don't, for the record, I never agreed with the Afghanistan conflict. I didn't agree with it. But that wasn't my job. My job was to, as an infantryman, my job description, while you were, baking your steak bakes, my job description was to close with and kill the enemy. That was my job for a short time. And, what have you ever done? So don't call into question people's service. The thing is as well, you're allegedly a martial arts instructor as well. And I don't like the logic, and I've said this to you, Steve, before. I never equated service with the army, service in a combat situation, experience in a combat situation, warfare, modern warfare, with the ability to be a martial artist. The only thing I've ever made a parallel with is the attitude towards conflict. But all other skills, the ability, section attacks, 6-section battle drills, whatnot, everything that I sort of learned as an infantryman. And I only did 3.5 years in the army. I opted for early release when we got back because I knew that I'd never, make a career out of it. I just wanted the experience. And while I was out there was a lot of reservists, TA guys who were doing the exact same thing. They just want to experience it and all the rest of it. But, I joined full time. They didn't, so I opted for early release. But I've never, ever equated, that sort of, I'm a soldier. I know what I'm talking about. So I'll teach martial arts and you must listen. For me, that's bullshit. But, his logic is that there is some correlation here. Okay?
No,
and there is no correlation. But
we've seen enough army people teaching martial arts.
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of it is crap. Yeah.
They haven't got a clue.
No, they haven't. And actually, while I was in Afghanistan, on downtime, I actually used to teach Lao Gar to a few people who were just genuinely interested. And, and that really, got me through, sometimes and stuff like that. And, so I'll be forever grateful for you and Vala. And, but that logic, Snapey Baby uses, whereby he brings to the forefront my experience as a soldier, it must mean something to him. So if I was to use his logic against him, and, which I'm going to do now, which I don't agree with, by the way, but if I use your logic against you and say, well, have you ever been a soldier? Have you ever served? If not, what gives you the right to teach martial arts? Okay? And I'll ask your students. I'd ask your students a question, old Snapes, if you've got any. Who would they rather learn martial arts from? A baker, such as yourself, who calls into question the integrity of veterans, or a combat veteran like me, okay? Who would you rather learn from? But that's your logic being used against you. Very sad, Snapey Baby, you can't give us any, decent criticism other than personal opinion, Jibes does. We'd love you to get technical, but I fear you can't.
No, because I've seen pictures and videos.
Well, I think it's only fair that we show the whole world how good old Snapes is. And we've got a little video of him punching the conditioning log. Now, he calls into... He wouldn't want me at his side, but, you know, you be the judge, everybody. Check this out. So, what do you think of that? I tell you what, mate, I'm, you know, mate, I'm worried now. I'm worried. I'm really worried. I mean,
Is the other guy his instructor, by the way, the one we know?
Oh, Laugar Sifu.
Yeah.
Laugar Sifu is this guy's instructor. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know that this guy, I've known him since a little kid. I used to talk to his dad on the walks and stuff at the summer course.
You're talking about Laugar Sifu now.
If he is Laugar Sifu, yeah. And, you know, he was a little kid and he joined and, you know, he was really great and whatever. And he got real keen and he was there every year at the summer course and so on. And then, but he worked for the Five Blunder lot. And so when they made their split and when this guy decided to leave, this poor chappie, Laugar Sifu, if that's who he is, he had to make a decision. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think he would have ever left if he'd have had the choice.
No, he's dug himself a hole. Now he has to justify why he's in it.
Yeah.
You know?
But you know, but people like that, and this is the unfortunate thing. When people leave an association and go their own way, they do drag a lot of baggage with them. Yeah. And sometimes that, you know, it's not people that want to go, but they just got no choice. I mean, it happened, you know, with the Worcester Club as well, where he wanted to leave or got kicked out in effect. And I've seen the email, so don't change that. I've got an email that says this, you know, that if that's how you're going to talk, you may as well leave. Okay. And so basically, you know, this guy tried to draw people with him and they just wouldn't go. A lot of them just wouldn't go simply because of the fact that they wanted to stay with the association. So they started training at the center. The unfortunate thing, and this is the sad thing, is they still believed him about the sort of whatever I'm supposed to have done. So, you know, and I have spoken to them since, but there are one or two, well, one particularly who talks really nice to me. And then in the other, you know, back end of his arse comes out with the bullshit.
Oh, they all do.
That with which I won't put on air, and you know, certain things are.
Yeah.
You know,
no, but you know, this is where these people come from now. You know, these. Yeah.
People are always prepared. They're always prepared to make comments, and they're always welcome to make comments, but they've got to listen.
Oh yeah, comments fine. I don't like. Well, honestly, criticism. Comments fine.
I'm sorry, they just have to be educated. If we can educate people, as you've just done, then I believe.
Well, I just like to thank old Snapey Baby for his comments, and it gave us a bit of fat to chew on there, and you know, but you know, buddy, sort yourself out. You know, seriously. Okay. End of. Right. Anyway, well, that was fun. We, you know, I'm not sure if we, we kind of talked about Kung Fu, didn't we? We had a bit of a bitch again.
Well, it was about, it's not always about techniques, James. It's not about techniques. It's about the history and the concept of teaching and so on and so forth. And people can, of course, complain that we don't talk technically, but when you're sitting like this, you can't really talk technically. And I'll be honest with you, if I was to do a movement straight away, there would be criticism. And I understand that, but I'm gonna, if someone sends me something and says, you know, this is should be done, or this is how I do it.
Right.
And I say, this is how I do it. Well, you can criticize me then, you know, and then judge me in accordance with what I'm talking about in relation to the conversation between, you know, two people with different opinions.
Yeah.
But if I just say, oh, do it this way, I'm not about that. I'm not trying to tell people to do it this way. So therefore, what's the point of me showing you how I do it without reason? There's no point, because you just get criticism.
No. Yeah. It's. I mean, it is a hard thing to do what we're doing. Talk about kung fu on a podcast, but you know, I know we're on video as well. But even so, like you said, you know, it's nice to have a two-way rather than a one-way all the time.
Yeah, if people said, you know, oh, that's crap, this is how I do it, this is how I punch the bag, I'll demonstrate, oh, this is how I do it. I mean, if they're asking me, I'll tell them. We've had people send videos and say, please critique this, please critique that. And we've critiqued it and they've thanked us, you know, privately. And it's just been, you know, we don't put it on air or anything like that. We're not interested in, you know, saying, oh, this guy does it this way or that way. We're not. That's not what we're about. Except when it comes to Snapey Baby. Well, when we have to, well, that was an insult, and you know, an insult deserves, you know, an answer.
It does. So, a few tips for old Snapes: when you're conditioning yourself, okay, just think about your other hand, you know, your guard. All right, don't focus on what the arms are doing. Think about your guard as well. All right. Yeah. If you're in the dojo, which I think you're in a dojo, you know, if you're in the dojo, don't wear bloody socks, bare feet or shoes, man. Get a grip of yourself, for God's sake. Jesus, what is this? What is this? A slumber party? Come on, right?
You're only covered
when you know you're open.
You're open.
And even if you're doing conditioning on the conditioning log, which I assume you do daily, because otherwise it renders itself null and void. You know, otherwise you've just hit a stupid implement for half an hour and you won't do it again for a week, resetting yourself. You know, get a grip, man. Just get a grip. Get a grip. Right. Anyway, we must move on. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on another bitch fest of an episode.
Well, I spent most of the time like this.
Well, you did. Well, I'm sorry if I bored you.
No, no. I loved the stories. I wish I had a kind of thing like I did it before. But it was great because I'd not heard a lot of it, so it was good.
No, that was a small section of it.
Stories about fighting the people who, you know, think they can do boxing, think they can do judo, and that, because we know that squaddies are not necessarily good martial artists or good fighters. Well, it's just that they've got the attitude, and the attitude.
Yeah, they've got the attitude. So I'll finish off with this one, and it was quite funny. And remember, I'm not a hard man, but you know, I consider myself, you know, trained to a certain point. Anyway, there was this one corporal who I began to train with in Afghanistan, who'd done a lot of martial arts before. But before we really got to know each other on tour in Afghan, he really didn't like me. He just didn't like me. He had an attitude with me and all the rest of it, like really bad. And like it got some points where he was like, you know, shoving me around and stuff. And as a soldier, you just have to bite your lip. You just have to accept it. Okay. You know, but this is what happened in Afghanistan. He found out that I taught a bit of Lao, and he was into a bit of boxing. So he said, "Oh, do you want to do some boxing?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Sure." He says, "Well, we'll go straight into sparring then." I went, "Okay, no problem." So I put on the gloves. First thing I did, I just went bang like that, through his guard. Anyway, his nose just went like that, blood everywhere. Right? It was a perler of a shot. I loved it. Right? First thing. From then on, me and him were best friends. How funny is that? And by the way, he didn't hit me once. So, but I just moved around, pick. But how funny is that? You know, it's like you can't sometimes just tap someone on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I'm here. Listen." You sometimes have to, uppercut them in the nose, and then you've got their attention, and then they like you. But how interesting that it took that display of consensual violence for someone to gain the respect of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that weird?
No, it's quite natural. Happened to me a lot at school.
Yeah, funny that. But yeah, it's just anecdotes and
when
stuff
I was in
like
the
that.
Navy as well.
Yeah,
I had fights in the Navy. People just
yeah. No,
just
it's
crazy, drunks and druggies a lot of the time.
No, it's sad. It's really sad. You know, funny but sad. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Kung Fu Podcast. We appreciate your support. We always do. We, really appreciate it when you subscribe to us, guys. As always, you want to ask us a question about it? That's fine. The old man don't know it all, but he knows enough. Send him a question. Why not?
Keep it real.
Keep it real, man. Keep it real. And, thanks to everyone who got in contact with us recently as well. And, we really appreciate the support, guys. If it's cold there in Canada, if you would be so inclined, just do us a favor, go and, subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, all the rest of it. Guys, we're always open. You can send us anything, any videos. Compliments are more than welcome. Insults, by all means, send them our way. Some will get answered.
As long as you're prepared to get the same back.
Educate
and it's going to be factual. It's just going to, say it how it is. Say it how it is.
Yeah. Guys,
everything we've ever said about people, it's been true simply because of the fact, where's the comeback?
Well, there is none. None of them
just
can.
complaints. That's all they go, you can't say that. Well, yes, you can if it's true.
Right.
We'll only tell you what's true.
There you go. So when you get personal, that's when you know you've won an argument, because all you've got left is slurs and insults. You can't come back at us factually. All right? We love you too. We want to be proved wrong as much as anyone. We're on a journey and a quest to learn. Me more so than the old man here. But but as ever, we really appreciate your company. Guys, take care, and we'll see you again on another episode of the Kung Fu Podcast. Train hard, stay safe. If you're in the UK, it's lockdown, remember, lockdown. Nah. Be cool, people. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Hey.
Concentrate on your enemy's weak points. The eyes, the throat, the knackers.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Kung Fu Podcast. If you like that and you want to find out more about us, you can head over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube and find us under SJN Martial Arts. And also guys, this podcast is available on Podbean and iTunes. So until next time, take care of yourselves and we'll see you again on the Kung Fu Podcast.
Karate punch is like an iron bar, whack. A Kung Fu punch is like an iron chain with an iron ball attached to the end and it go whang.
Can you break a log like that?
Don't know. Never been attacked by a tree.
You took a glass eye to sleep, James.
Steve, what can you tell me about the spear? Just in general talking. What I know it's the king of the battlefield and
Well, king of the weapons. There's no army up until the kind of the beginning of the 20th century. There's no army that didn't have spears or lances and pikes. Every single army on earth has always used spears.
The Roman army had spears that broke away.
Huh?
The Roman army threw spears, but they could only use them once because they would bend.
They would bend to stop people throwing them back, yeah. But Chinese spears were like the primary weapon.
Right. And the secondary weapon was always the sword, yeah.
Yeah, that's the sidearm.
Yeah.
Manchu swords, yeah. And the primary weapon was the spear. And it totally depends on the blade as to what you would use it for.
So you get different types of blades on spears.
Yeah, you can get long blades. You can get, you know, wide blades for cutting. You can get little pointy blades for stabbing.
So when we look at the spear in Lao, what the set is primarily, what is it, a stabby set or is it a cutty set or what?
The stabby and cutty set.
Right.
Yeah. And the frill on the end of the, you know, the red frill stuff is to stop the bloods rolling down.
Rolling down, so you lose the grip. Yeah.
Yeah, so you lose the grip. So it's very bendy. So if you was to whip over the top of a shield,
it would come down and cut and
come
stab.
down and smack the person. Yeah. So no one could say a shield was the best or a spear was the best, because depending on what you wanted to sell, you know, king of the weapons.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you could obviously and also you're hitting on the floor, it would bounce up itself and go straight in. So it increases the amount of energy.
So it would bounce up like that?
Yeah, so you would hit it on the floor,
yeah.
It would bend,
yeah.
and then flex up.
Ah, I'm with you. So not only from the top, it would, if you hit something.
So if you was aiming at their feet,
yeah,
they would try to block their feet. Boom, boom, it'd just follow straight up. That's in the set.
Yeah, that's in there quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, that's in the set, yeah. So bang, bang. No one does it because they don't want to damage the end of their spear because, again, weapons that you buy, facsimile weapons, the ends are not very good metal. So if you do it, it bends the spear head. So what you need is a really good, solid, real blade.
If you were doing that with the spear, with a real spear, would you be hitting with the flat side as not to dull it?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, you would hit with the flat side, and when you spin around, you always have the flat. You cut it around like that. And when you cut it down, you cut it like that. Or you want to go across, you cut it like that.
Ah, I never thought about that before. Yes. Right.
So the ability of a good, if you watch anyone with a spear set, they've got to try to keep the blade facing the direction that it intends to cut. The same as a sword. You wouldn't cut a sword like that. You
right.
Cut a sword like that. So it'd be the same thing with the spearhead.
So when you see people do the spear, I mean, is this one of the things that's like a very big detail emphasized?
Yeah, that's a detail that you would have to see. And, I can't say that I'm that good with it. I can only say that I know about it and I don't practice it enough to become, an expert with a spear. But because I know about it, I can teach it.
Right.
But I don't think maybe, I don't know. I try to, but I'm sure you'll find videos, if I've done any videos with a spear, where I may not have it, perfect.
I can't got any videos of you doing the spear.
Oh, right. Okay.
What about the length of the spear? Are they all uniform length? Because you're not...
The same as the eyebrow pole plus the blade.
Plus that. So it's tailored to the size of the individual, again?
Yeah, so you can stab it like that.
Right. Right, yeah, I'm with you. So it's not like an eyebrow pole, a rat tail pole where its length is... longer. Fixed because you're not spinning it around.
No, it's an eyebrow size with the blade on top.
Right.
So you basically got the whole length of your reach.
Right. Okay.
So you can spin it around,
So is it a double-ended weapon then?
Well, you can use the butt, of course. The butt's always fatter than the end, but it's primarily, obviously, the blade.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can flex it, so it's difficult to. So it cuts even in short spurts. But it's a bouncy weapon. It's meant to be flexible. So it's difficult to get a good flexible, shaft.
Right.
So when I used to buy those, all those shafts for sticks, I used to cut off. If I wanted a spear, I'd cut off the fat end, and if I wanted it as a stick, I'd cut off the thin end.
Because it would be more flexible with the thinner end, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the thinner the blade, the thinner the spear, the better.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
For a Chinese spear.
Right. So so the addition of the spear within Lao Gar, was that something that Master Yao added later on, or was it always in the syllabus? Or
that's difficult for me to say, but a weapon, like I said, the spear is ultimate weapon in terms of the fact that it's long and sharp and flexible. So it's got attributes for every weapon. Therefore, it's highly likely it's in any traditional Shaolin and, fighting style. It will be in all of them, or it should be, simply because of the fact that it's the ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
So, you can reach, even put out your hand, and it's light enough to be able to use the reach with your arm length as well. So you don't just have an eyebrow length, you have like an extra 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah.
With
You mean
arms.
Single-handed?
Yeah, single-handed.
Yeah.
Put them out.
Because
and that's why you can do that and swing it around as well.
Right.
So you swing it around and it spins around your neck as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
spin it around your hand as well.
Because you're, like you've said before, like you've got with the eyebrow pole or the rat tail, you've got a controllable range, which is under the arm.
Yeah.
Because you're holding it still.
Yeah.
But with the spear, if you've just got the one hand out, well,
Yeah, but there are bits when you poke it over the top of a weapon, a shield, for instance, you can actually hold it like that and poke it down, holding it with both hands.
Right.
So you can keep it that far away from you.
Yeah.
So you go right over the top and above a shield by taking it over like that.
So if you're using it for a single-handed, if you're holding it with single-handed, is that more in the context of swinging as in cutting or stabbing?
Well, you can stab as well. You can stab or swing. Swinging is only really to keep people at bay. But an actual attack would be far more better to just stab.
Right.
But you wouldn't keep it in one hand for long.
No.
You would have to retract it and hold it and contain it. Otherwise, you're going to lose it because people just will knock it away. So what you're aiming for is obviously if their weapon has gone and you boom, you can quickly stab at them while their weapon is out of the angle.
Yeah.
So they can't block it. So it's just an opportunity to get it when they think you're out of range.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can actually be a much longer range than they believe.
Right. Yeah.
And that's feinting, isn't it? That's fooling and tactics.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Wow. And of course, you can, like I say, you can hit it on the floor. You can stab it over your head, which is also in the set.
What do you mean stab it? What, in front or behind?
Behind you. Yeah. So you just turn it over and stab behind you.
So it points down.
So it points at the top.
Or an angle. Oh, right. How do you target?
And all that's in the set too.
And what's the set called? What's the spear set called?
I can't remember, James. Spear. I can't remember. You'll have to look it up. I can't remember.
It's it's the only set really that I haven't got any reference on from you or John or anyone.
Well, there's some information there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But I tell you what you should do with that bit I've just given you then is maybe put that in the podcast.
Okay. Sure.
Just, we're just talking about it.
Yeah, no worries.
And, maybe it's useful.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that.